the dip.
Continuité dump.
Deep Sol.
Temporary bottom, reversal.
In not paying.
Pour pit and payant a bull flag.
If routine.
Put him to sleep. Load the Korea fold.
Awake.
Make him think it's the bottom, drop off the volume.
Pivot.
Dump it again.
It tethered.
Push it sideways.
Is doing groziers.
Print 100 million Ether when he goes to sleep. Tempo pit.
Is awake.
Load a dip.
He books the dip.
Sideways until he sleeps, then crash with the exact same Korea fold. Get Vitalik on the lane.
Master.
Pump pattern for 2 hours and then wake him up.
Okay.
Is awake.
Load the flip on trade.
If dead wet.
Crash it.
He trying to kill himself.
Activate quantum immortality. Now print 200 million Tether.
He thinks we are going to
We are, let him in.
be seen.
Pump it.
He thinks he's about to make it.
Kill him. Transfer everything. And then find a notaire.
There it is, the legendary Bizanarchi, who made a video 3 years ago all about what it's like to be in the middle of a bear market. And why are we talking about a bear market? Well, Alp, if you can share my screen. Make it happen, sir. Make it happen.
Boom.
There you go. You are not ready for a bear market. And the reason I'm doing this video is because, well, look, Bitcoin is knocking on the door of 60 grand once more. And everyone's excited about the potential of a monster BTC rally. But what happens on the other side of that rally? That's why I wanted to do this video, because there's so much talk about up only and all that fun stuff. No one ever really thinks about what happens on the other side and what to do with all the money that you're going to make. So this is the whole point of the video for today. It's not a video, but if you're watching this on repeat, it is a video. So drop us a like, subscribe, all that stuff. You know how we do. Disclaimer, it's not FUD. It's quite the opposite. It's arming you for war, preparing you for what's coming up, because you know what? I've been through it. I lived through it 4 years ago, exactly where you are right now. And if you lived through it and the one before that, then you know. But if you don't know, and you don't understand the taste of salt in your mouth for 3 years solid, then you're going to learn some stuff today. Don't be manipulated. Hodl, not financial advice, says CZ. He's right. This is also not financial advice. And with that, because there's so much good stuff coming up, we're going to go straight on to our sponsors. Don't let high gas costs keep you out of Ethereum. A balance of the gas-optimized vault architecture makes trading cheaper than anywhere else. Liquidity providers can optimize their fee earnings using the dynamic fee system that automatically adjusts to market conditions. You can also use asset managers to lend out idle assets, dramatically increasing your capital efficiency. Because Balancer is an open platform for flexible, automated markets, you can choose from stable pools or weighted pools. And in the future, more designs will be created that they don't even know about yet. Check it out at balancer.fi. Avalanche is a leading third-generation Layer 1 blockchain that has a flourishing ecosystem of more than 200 projects live, with over 100 in the pipeline as well. The latest launch of the Avalanche Rush DeFi incentive program is the largest to date of its kind, with flagship DeFi protocols like Ava, Curve, and Sushi leading the charge as they deploy on Avalanche. The Avalanche platform is fast, low cost, and super easy to use. If you're a DeFi user on Ethereum, you can quickly and easily move your assets over using the brand new Avalanche Bridge and can explore the ecosystem of dApps. Head to ecosystem.avax.network to get started today. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining the stream. I hope you're not kind of set up for something bearish and pessimistic, because that's not at all what we're trying to do here. We start with this phrase, this time it's different. And joining me on this, whoa.
Hey, Robin.
Excuse me.
Hey.
Who are you?
I am Vivian. I am coming from the future. We've met before, but you probably don't remember me because you will meet me in the future.
Hang on a second. You look like a real person? You sound like a man. You look like what's going on?
I will give you one hint. Let me tell you, I've been through the bears. I'm currently in the year 2030, and I've lived through a couple bears. And
There's a bear behind you.
There's a bear behind me. Yes, that's correct. That's a bear. That's my teddy bear. And
I'll tell you what, though, you got lovely hair, lovely lighting, and I'm extremely intrigued to know who you are and why you've got. Oh, stop it! Stop showing off, future weird person. We will come back to Vivian later. Now get off my stream.
Okay, we'll meet again, Robin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Vivian. So this time it's different. Let's examine that idea. This time it's different by going back 4 years to what I call the Ballad of Charlie Lee. And we need a bit of a time machine to do that. If you don't know who Charlie Lee is, it's this guy, the founder of Litecoin. Litecoin, called the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Bit of a joke. So it was a project that lots of people mined just because it was there and it wasn't worth very much. And then suddenly it was worth a lot. At the top of the last bull market, Charlie Lee, who had been sort of instrumental in getting Litecoin on Coinbase and ushering in an era of altcoins other than Bitcoin being on Coinbase. That was a big, big thing. And Charlie was instrumental in that. It opened the door for legitimacy for altcoins in many, many ways. At the top of the bull market, Charlie says this: okay, sorry to spoil the party, but I need to rein in the excitement a bit. Buying Litecoin is extremely risky. I expect us to have a multi-year bear market like the one we just had, where Litecoin dropped 90% in value, $48 to $4. So if you can't handle LTC dropping to $20, don't buy. Look at the date, December 11th, 2017. That is an important date because Bitcoin had just gone on the most insane tear. It had gone from around 3,000, which at the time seemed like an astronomical amount of money, to 20 grand in the space of 2 weeks. It was like nothing anybody had ever seen. It sucked the volume completely out of the market. All altcoins crushed into the dust. But once it had finished biting all the altcoins' heads off, all the altcoins went mental. So think about the euphoria in the market. Think about where people's heads were at. They felt invincible. They felt like they were making more money than they would ever make in their lives. They felt like all the speculation around crypto and all the things that we've been promised around ICOs and the potential of tokens to completely rewrite economics, value. We would unbank the banked. We would bank the unbanked. We would bank the banquettes. Everything that to do with banks, done. So that's where we are. And he says that. Can you imagine what message that sent to people? Now, would they accept it? CryptoPacker says, you may very well be right, but you may be spectacularly wrong. These are different times than the 2010, 2016 years. A lot has changed. Crypto is moving into the mainstream. Of course, there will be corrections, but it would seem the general trend is still positive. And he went on. Not one person asked you, Charlie, why you expect a multi-year bear market, a term most have no idea what that is. But I'll ask why. I get consolidation, but bear market? And then it ain't dropping to $20, Charlie. Come on, facepalm. So what did happen next? Yep, that happened. And what was Litecoin's bottom? $23.43. Now, does that mean that Charlie's a genius? No, not especially. Does that mean that Charlie had the experience of this patch here, the protracted long bear of all bears? Yep, that's exactly what that means. Charlie knew. He'd been there. He'd seen it, done it. And he was very wise, Charlie, because he sold his stack of LTC at an average of $205. I don't know how much Litecoin Charlie Lee had, but it was a lot. He says, I sold because holding LTC made it a situation where I may do something to pump the value short term, but is bad for the long-term success of Litecoin. I didn't want that conflict. That's very hard for anyone who doesn't have a massive stack of their own token to comprehend. But Charlie had made it. You know, we talk about WGMI. Charlie had made it. And so he sold it because why wouldn't you? If you'd made it, you would. So let's fast forward back to now, 2021. And recenter yourself. Just think what am I feeling right now? What is my sentiment around the market? Am I positive? Am I negative? You're probably looking at $60 Bitcoin, $60,000 Bitcoin, and thinking, this looks good. This looks nice. If Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up. And you're feeling good about it. So what does that tell us about what's going on? Well, this time, it is different, right? It is. And why is it different? Well, a bunch of people have told us that it is different. It's a Bitcoin super cycle, this sweeping curve that goes up and wants to flatten off, but no. It starts to curl back up again, and it's a beautifully simple chart with an elegant line, an S-curve, if you will, driven through it, which means we're not headed up and then down. We're headed up and then up again. This cycle is different. So says Dan Held in the infamous Bitcoin Supercycle Medium post. Will Clemente, the 19-year-old savant who seems to understand markets like nobody else to the extent that he's invited on every single podcast. Every single one. Macro hodling behavior has shifted after March of last year and makes a convincing case for the end of the 4-year cycle. What do we think about that? All of this is a story. It's a narrative. It's designed to pour attention on the people that have written it, on the people who've actually come up with this crap. Because that's all it is. It's a story. I know what a story is. I make them every week. I take a thing that's inherently invisible, you can't see it, and I turn it into something that you can see through video. That is how I know that this is bullshit. It may be true, but it's still bullshit. And I tell you why it's bullshit. Because they don't know. It's speculation. And therefore, it's bullshit. Because all speculation is bullshit. That's the point of it. It's a story we wrap around stuff to make ourselves feel happy. And of course, a lot of people tell you the reason it's not different is because of this beautifully familiar graphic, the Wall Street cheat sheet. We have seen this a gazillion times. It is trotted out by the wise on Twitter and on social media because look how similar the Wall Street cheat sheet looks. Textbook market cycle. The fact is, you can look at any market, NFT, doesn't matter what, they all look like this. And there's a very simple reason. We are highly predictable creatures, actually. The whole world of psychohistory and Asimov's foundations, basically the Wall Street cheat sheet. I mean, it really, really is. That's not why it's different or why it's not different. The reason it's not different is actually much simpler. It's because of the halving. The halving is the greatest gift Satoshi ever gave to you if you're trading these markets because it doesn't ever change. It's a fact. And we looked at the super cycle. Super cycle is speculation. It's BS. Halving is not BS. It's a fact. What happens around the halving and everything else, well, that changes a little bit and it depends on when and how. But basically, the one true fact that you know for certain is Bitcoin's economic policy. And if we know that, this market is reflexive, which it is, then it will all be beholden to this. Everything in crypto will be beholden to this countdown number. So the Bitcoin halving is 937 days away, which is the 9th of May, 2024. And that probably doesn't sound like it's a long way away, but if you have been through one of these bear markets before and you've sat and watched what at one point was a surefire win, a winning position, erode to the point where it's worth 98% of what it was worth, that is a very, very, very long time to be sitting there telling yourself, I know I was right. Just wait. You'll see till the next bull run. Because every single optimistic thought you had is crushed. It's not different because of this. This is what the halving cycle looks like. I don't want to get into charts and all that stuff because fundamentally I think they're misleading. I think they're helpful. They're a guide, but you can't base all your decisions on charts. But this is kind of a read with some nice boxes on it. You can see the chart movement. There you go. But essentially the halving has a profound effect on the buying behavior of people in the market around Bitcoin. And there is absolutely no reason to believe that this time will be any different, except for Hopium and Medium posts, which paint the picture, the beautiful picture. Now, I'm not saying that picture is wrong. Far from it. We hope that adoption, that some kind of cataclysmic change in the mindset of people will arrive, in which case, yes, things will change. And historically, when we look at the likes of Amazon and the .com boom, yes, things did change and they have changed. The halving does not change. And so if you're trying to persuade me that the super cycle is not a meme, I will happily look back in 4 years and say, you know what? Great, well done. But I think we have to be a bit more woke than that. And I think we also have to call out the bullshit when it is bullshit. So halving, yes, 100%. Reflexive market, yes, 100%. Super cycle, for me, a super cycle is a really fast bike because the market will always own you. It's owned me, it's owned you, it's owned all of us. And that is why it's incredibly important that we hedge our own biases, because I might just end up calling out one of your tweets in 4 years' time to show just how wrong you actually were. Hit it, Alp.
I created one rule: never be a fool. But in Bitcoin 10K break, I had to realize mistake and buy. I only buy the top, FOMO and then we drop. Everyone else is the best traders in the world. Where will we go? Can you tell me, sir, please? 'Cause I only buy the top, FOMO and then we drop. And I never ever stop. Twitter can lap it up. Everyone else is the best traders in the world. Where will we go? Can you tell me, sir, please? I only buy the top.
Big shout out to 1000X for just another classic that sums up the feeling of a bear market. We'll get there. We'll understand it. We'll feel it. So what does a bear market feel like? We have trauma, anger, fear, abuse. It is actually the 7 stages of grief. You go through initial paralysis of hearing the bad news. You go through denial, trying to avoid the inevitable. Then there's the frustrated outpouring of bottled up emotions, seeking in vain for a way out. And then the final realization of the inevitable. Yes, you fucked it up, didn't you? You know you did. But that's the thing. You didn't. You actually didn't. But let's get into what it feels like in a bear. So I've made a list of things that I felt during the last bear market. Now, there's a temptation to paint me as a genius in all this. I really am not. I've just been there, and I don't want to go there again. So I'm trying to give you some insight into what it's like being in a bear market. So here's the thing. A bear market doesn't go straight down. It kind of goes blah, 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 blah. It goes up, and then it goes down. There are bull traps, and bull traps are horrific because they are tradable events, monstrously tradable events. They tend to be severe and sharp, and a good trader will understand the difference between point A and point B and how to make a profit from it. You might not. You might take that as, oh, we're back. But trust me, you're not back. A bear market will go on longer than you can ever imagine. We'll look at that when we look at the charts in a little bit. But the point is, bull markets tend to be short, bear markets tend to be long. It's just the way it is. And they can go on way longer than you possibly imagine, and they will really test you and your supposedly diamond hands. During a bear market, traders who short and traders who tweet about it ascend to godlike status. We put them on a pedestal. Wow, you shorted the market. You are a genius. If you turn a bull market upside down, it turns into a bear market. Similarly, if you turn a bear market upside down, it turns into a bull market. It's not that difficult. During a bear market, you become an expert in volume analysis. That becomes the thing that people just look at more than anything else. They compare the volume of the big bull market and they go, oh my gosh, volume dropping off. We're dead. Suddenly, it's all about volume. There's a lot of self-loathing. Yes, you hate yourself. You think you're an idiot. Then it becomes blame shifting, boss level. It's not your fault. It's the whales. The whales did it. CZ did it. My dog did it. My mum did it. Wasn't you. No. Let's be honest here. At any point in crypto, is there anybody, with a machine gun to your head saying, no, you can't sell? No, I'm afraid that is on you. And as long as you're okay with that, that's fine. But don't blame shift. Then there's social media masochism. This is just awful. So you know that the worst thing you can do is go on Twitter and then type in the hashtag of your coin. You know it, because what's going to get served back to you is just trolling, troll central, about how stupid you are for having bought this coin, and how stupid you are for having held onto this coin, and how stupid you are in general for just being a human being that even bought this crap in the first place. That's social media masochism. You will just pick apart every single crumb of information you can about a project just to try and find something slightly positive. And you won't find it. So you just keep going back and back and back for that punishment. Gallows humor. You can see it on the right here. McDonald's. It becomes black humor after a while. McDonald's memes. Then the other thing is self-delusion. You tell others that your hands are diamond. I'm not selling. I'm not bothered by this. I'm buying more. As it drops, I'm going to buy more. But then you sell the bottom over and over again. We've all done it. There isn't a single person in this space that hasn't done it at least once. The next thing that happens is you discover your voice on Telegram. You might have been quiet before. You might have been happy to let others do the talking. But suddenly you're outraged. You have to speak. Who did this? Who's selling? Who's shorting the market? Etc., etc., etc. Another thing that happens is you stop being an advocate for a project and you become an adversary for the project. This is a weird thing. You see people almost self-sabotage to a degree. They will deliberately shank their own project. They will FUD their own project to make a point. How does that help anybody? And yet it happens. We see pitched battles on Twitter over alleged skullduggery. Suddenly the run-up that we all enjoyed, the massive 10x, 20x, 25x, is suspicious. And we're all part of it. We want to know what happened, because now we're investigative journalists, all of us, and really, really good at it too, because we found an Etherscan transaction that confirms everything. And then we read it on 4chan. Whistleblower accounts, well, they start to rise in popularity as well. So you see these accounts that seem to have all the answers, that proclaim to be geniuses in forensic accounting, and they can track transactions, and they've screen grabs, Telegram chats. Those arrive. Then you start reading 4chan again, which is always a bad move. Then core developers regret things that they've written because they also get caught up in the FOMO. They go, yeah, we're going to have 1 million transactions on chain daily by next year. And then people call them out and say, you said this. They go, yeah, but yeah, but you said it. And the fact is they did say it, and now they regret it, but they can't take it back. And no one will ever let them take it back because everything is screen grabbed and everything is on 4chan. Protocols run out of money. Oh, this is a nasty one. So here's what happens during a bull market. You spend. And projects are flush with money. They spend. And they spend on people. People are the hardest things to hire and the hardest things to get rid of. They're also the most expensive pieces of the balance sheet. Humans are expensive. They're also incredibly important, but, try finding a Solidity developer right now and then figure out how much you're going to pay them. They're expensive for a reason, but they are expensive. And if you have hired, at some point in the bear market, you have to start firing. And it's not good because you haven't got enough money. You have to tighten the belts. It happens to every single project. Next thing that happens is you question everything. And this whole run-up, our whole basis for why we bought into this in the first place, is built on a bunch of philosophical assumptions that the smart people that we see talking about this space are actually right. And we want them to be right because philosophically, this space does have a lot of answers to questions that we might have had about things in our real life. But once that market starts to turn red, we question those assumptions. And then we start to think, well, actually, we're really dumb. We really are dumb. And then that's when you realize that you are, in fact, the meme. I've written meme in the presentation, but it's meme. And then there's Schadenfreude. People delight in other people's misfortunes. every time someone else gets fucked by a red candle, we're like, yeah, you deserve that. But then another thing happens. The best people, they stick around. And they stick around because they have found something that's bigger and better than the market movements. It's bigger and better than what they had in their real lives. And they've made some good friends. And the builders keep building. It's actually better for builders during a bear market because there's less noise. There's less stuff going on. They can actually just get on with building software, which is actually incredibly difficult. So that's a kind of snapshot of everything that happens during a bear market. And it's a lot. But it's, as you can see, it's kind of mental. So I did a little kind of snapshot of projects that died during the 2018 bear market. About 1,000 crypto projects died. Actually, in 2019, it was less. But one of the things that I noticed was that projects sell their own tokens to fund operations. And that may sound really bad news. Actually, it's one of those things like, oh yeah, the project's dumping its own tokens on the market. They all do it. Every single one of them. They're doing it right now. Trust me. And they're doing it because they have to. The projects have just a ton of tokens themselves. And if they don't, it's highly unusual, like Yearn doesn't. But most of the time, projects do have their own tokens. And when they're making money on those tokens, they sell them to fund operations, to fund expansion. Because it's easier to do that than to do a Series A or a Series B. It just is. So they do that. And during a bull market, nobody cares because everything is going up. But during a bear market, everybody cares. And you start to see posts about, tracking transactions because it's very hard to hide that that's happening because we know where a project's wallet sits. And suddenly you get all these narratives around transparency. Everything has to be transparent because we demand it. We deserve it because we do all the work. No, you don't. It's a real burden for projects that need to raise money. So what I look for is projects that have actually raised money during the good times to give them the runway to last through an extended bear market. Good example, Solana, that raised $314 million to develop faster blockchain. Solana did an ICO. They didn't raise that much. Way, way, way less than that. Like my old boss's Harmony raised around 24 million, and they did an ICO as well, but that's a lot of money. That really is a lot of money. And it means that Solana are incredibly well equipped with a war chest to keep fighting, to keep marketing, to keep pushing things through during an extended bear period. And that is a very positive sign for Solana. Does that mean they're going to be successful? No, because who knows who's in charge of their treasury and its expenditure. It's also, brings home this idea that a decentralized entity shouldn't need to raise money. It should be able to sustain itself. But we know that we're a long way off from that. Another thing to look out for is euphoric bears. Here is the beautifully monikered Magic Poop Cannon. Magic Poop Cannon became something of a celebrity during the last bear market because, this is a trader that loves to troll bullish pleb retailers like you and me. And it was just down only, down only, down only. And so Magic Poop Cannon would just post these insanely bearish charts and everyone would go, oh my God. Oh my God. Because the funny thing about charts is that they're often a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's also just clickbait, Here's another one. The BTC bear stands on a lofty peak that was born of euphoria and cast shade. The BTC bull stands on firm ground with a long view of the amazing developments that have transpired. Diamond hands. The traders who shorted Bitcoin from all-time high 20 grand are cashing out. Is the bottom near? Sorry, is the bottom is near. Great headline. Jeez. So during the last bull market, there were these legendary traders that shorted all the way from 20 grand down to 3 grand. And yeah, they made a ton of money. They made an absolute ton of money. And, good for them. Good for them. Here's another interesting one. This is Leah Wald, the CEO at Valkyrie Funds, co-author of Hyperwave Theory, The Rogue Waves of Financial Markets. As you will see, there's a chart on the left with some lines drawn on it. And on those lines, they have drawn a red waterfall to indicate where the movement of the market was going. Leah took a bet. She said, I'm willing to bet one BTC that the price trades below $1,500 on Bitstamp before it trades above $6,500. Leah Wald, 25.6 thousand followers on Twitter, the writer and co-author of Hyperwave Theory, The Rogue Waves of Financial Markets. I'm sorry, What? That's really all that needs to be said about that. Here's another one. Why I'm shorting the Bitcoin bubble now. But wait, look at the date. This is the May the 5th, 2021. Calling Bitcoin a bubble. Bitcoin failed to deliver its promises during the last 12 years of existence. As a result, Bitcoin still has no use case and is purely used as a medium of speculation. Bitcoin is driven by media hype and retail momentum. At this point, Bitcoin is exhausted major catalyst, which is problematic for Bitcoin's momentum moving forward. Shorting the Bitcoin bubble could be like shorting the banks in 2008. It could be the most profitable trade of the decade. Well, here's some Schadenfreude. That was May the 5th. Let's go and look at what happened. Shall we? So beautifully on Seeking Alpha, you get to see when and where this was actually published. So here you can see when that was published, which was May the 5th, reasonably near the top of the last kind of bull impulse. But then this writer wrote another article, sell your Bitcoin today and do not look back. Outlook very bearish. That was May the 25th. And then another one, terrible technicals could collapse back to 20K soon. But then look at the chart. So let's have a look at that article. The Bitcoin bubble has popped and the technicals indicate a downward trend. Does that not just tell you it's all bullshit? It's all absolute bullshit. Now, I was going to have a look at this chart here, which is the Bitcoin price movement from like the end of the last bull market all the way through until, basically where we are now. And it gives you a really good sense of, kind of just the length of this entire journey through a bear market. Because essentially, you see where it says 20K here. We only really properly entered the bull market here when we actually broke through that previous all-time high and started to move upwards. And you can see that once that happened, and I remember this period, it was about 10 days or something, we were flapping around here. And a lot of people thought we'd be rejected and then come back down, but it didn't happen. We went straight through. But this period here, it's just dead. And then you do have these moments where things go up. And at the time, these feel incredibly significant. Like the summer 2019 bull run felt incredibly significant because it felt like things were actually going to move up again, but they didn't. And this is the problem with bull markets. You just get bear market. You get lured into these false signals constantly. But the thing is, the only thing you really need to think about is the halving. The halving is really your North Star for all of this stuff. I had a look at the Tron chart as well. The Tron chart's hilarious. There's all of this. Tron was just a massively hyped project. Justin Sun, went all the way up here. Massive run up, died. And it still hasn't breached that all-time high again. Now, there's two ways to look at this. One is that it will breach its all-time high again in the next 3 months. And that will be the end of this cycle. But it's, it hasn't got there yet. And I do remember coins like NXT in the last 2017 cycle, when they finally broke their all-time high. And that was a proper OG coin. Then it was really the end of the cycle. Neo, another one. Look, Neo was all the way up here. Neo was a huge win for a lot of people. Went all the way up to $200. Hasn't got anywhere near that this time around. Was just flapping around like $10. But it made a lot of people a lot of money. XRP, it's the funniest one of all. Look how high it went. Absolutely monstrous. And then it just... The funny thing about these charts is that if you zoom out a little bit, there's a small idea about a cup and handle, but I'm not going to go there because, there's Magic Poop Cannon. I do wonder what Magic Poop Cannon's up to these days. His reputation's really high, but I mean, it's like all of these things. A stopped clock tells the right time twice a day. Truth. So on the other side of this, you get something else. Ben Mesrick. If you don't know who Ben Mesrick is, he wrote a couple of very well-known books about, one of them was about counting cards, very kind of analytical math guy. Bitcoin 20K. Now, everyone who's ever bought Bitcoin and held has made money. Well, yes, that's the truth. So Bitcoin got back to 20K. It never felt like it was going to. And this was a tweet from February 10th, 2019 from Michael van der Pop, who's a Dutchie that likes to post pretty pictures on Twitter and and tell people that he knows what's going on. He said everyone rushed into the market to buy Bitcoin above 15,000, and everyone's scared to buy BTC now at 3,000, while the progress is steady and strong and the fundamentals are getting better. The psychology of the market is beautiful. Absolutely true. Like once the fear sets in, it's very hard to get rid of it. But the thing is, everybody wants to think that you are the problem, but you are not the problem, purely human. This feeling of powerlessness, information asymmetry, cognitive dissonance, betrayal. My goodness, if you sell, you're betraying crypto. What a load of crap. That's not what's happening here at all. I think this is the problem. So I've taken a selection of financial influencers who I've been keeping an eye on. Graham Stephan, Andre Jig in particular, because these are very articulate, well-reasoned young men. One of them has a beard. Don't hold that against him. I also have a beard. And they post pictures of their faces next to pictures of a coin, and then they tell you stuff. And that is about as much as I'm willing to give them, because 426,000 views, 212,000 views. Let me tell you something about these guys. They make their money from clicks. Let me tell you something about the Defiant. We do not. I don't care how many people watch these videos, because it's not how we make our money. We make our money in a completely different way, and it has nothing to do with this. So I'm not going to tell you that Bitcoin could go to zero, and I'm not going to tell you to go all in on Shiba Inu. In fact, I'm not going to tell you anything of the sort, because that's up to you. That's your choice. This is the problem right here. Bad information. We are putting together a terminal and a dashboard for the Defiant that will hopefully give you some better information. But at the end of the day, I can't stop these people posting crap like this. And I've been hesitant to call them out before because, you know, they hustle, they do what they do. But the thing that I'm seeing more and more of is they're moving into this space because they know it will get them clicks. They don't know shit. They don't know anything at all, in fact. But they're presenting themselves as if they do. They are very credible, and they can give you all this analysis and everything else. I am aware that I am the same thing. I speak in a nice voice. I can give you analysis. I can give you research. Should you trust me any more than these guys? Not at all. All I'm hoping that you'll do is exercise some personal hedge bias or bias hedging. That's all. Because the thing is, if you're not paying for the product, you're paying for Andre's house. Alp's laughing. He likes that one. But it's true. The guy's posting a picture of his house with his dog. You paid for that because you watched these videos. How has that got anything to do with decentralization, DeFi, anything that you come to this channel from? Heike H is saying, how do you make your money? We make our money from investors. So Camilla raised some money in investment, and we make our money from sponsors. So you'll see sponsors at the beginning of the videos. That is how we make our money. If we were to make our money in any other way, so let's say we did a grant, which we're looking at potentially, we will let you know. It's a very, very fair question, and the transparency over where we do get our money from, it has a big bearing on how independent we can be. And I've just been very aware of the need to call out these clowns because, like, not a single one of them has ever talked about DeFi. They don't get it. They don't know what it is. They've never talked about stablecoins. It just demonstrates a chronic lack of understanding, or at least a chronic lack of willingness to engage with what's good about this. Heike's saying sponsors equals money from clicks. I don't think you're wrong. I wish it wasn't the way. Would you allow us to transition, or at least try and move into something else? Because, yeah, I get where you're coming from. We're working on that. So it comes down to this idea of agency. And in my Metaverse film, I talked about this idea of the universe being centered around you and having the agency to control your own destiny. I think that's one of the hardest things when the markets turn red. You feel powerless, and you're in the grip of something of which you have no control, and you're trying to look for kind of answers or ideas about why it is the way it is. The fact is, though, what tends to be sort of put out there is that HODL is the way in which you resist all of that. That HODL is the only way. And to a degree it is. I have a problem with HODL, though, because HODL inherently says don't do anything. And that's a very passive position to be in. And I'm not advocating for selling everything else, but what I am advocating is being master of your own destiny and having the power to control and decide what you do, when you do it, and not be so enthralled to the market or so enthralled to influencers or anything else. I hope that's kind of what we at least aspire to with the Defiant is returning some agency to the people that watch the content, because that's what DeFi is about. It's about returning power to the user, allowing you to go and take out a loan on whichever protocol you decide that you want to take out a loan on. So HODL isn't your only play. That's another reason why HODL is counterproductive, that not doing anything means you're not spending your crypto. You're not making the money circulate through the economic system in which you're a participant. That can be quite problematic. Also, I appreciate that some people look at this as an investment and they want to level up, they want to achieve financial freedom. So spending is not necessarily something they want to do, but HODL is also it's inherently passive. So that's where we're going to now jump into the next video as we contemplate our options.
I said I was community, but acted like a jerk. I stole Hayden's liquidity without doing any work. I know that you've been scammed before, but red flags we ignore. This time it's different. This time it's right. Just grab yourself some sushi. The future's bright. This time is different. This time it's true. You can call me Master Savior. My Dex is packed with flavor. Yes, it is. It's so tasty. Sitting around the campfire, just me and a vampire. Preparing every detail. 30 million. Thank you, retail. I'm not dumping. I'm a good guy. This time is different. This time is right. You can trust me. It's not a scam. Just ask Sam. Go ahead and ask him now. This time is different. This time is true. I swear I'm not jumping on you. You can believe me, I'm the real master chef.
Ah, good times. We made that video last year for Sushi Swap because Sushi Swap looked like the biggest scam ever. As it turned out, it wasn't. It's one of the most innovative projects out there, but the message, it still rings true. This time it's different. It isn't different, but some of it is different. We're going to get into that. Someone's asking in the chat, what is the strategy? Well, I'm not going to give you financial advice here. What I can do is point you in the direction of some things which are options, they're possibilities. It's really up to you to decide what level of risk you want to take on. We have covered a lot of the protocols that you will see on the channel before because we think they have something interesting to offer. The most important thing to bear in mind through all of this is bear markets are long. They encourage people to act badly because they get themselves into a pickle. It happens every single time. And so smart contract risk, if you're going to park funds in a smart contract for a long period of time, it puts more emphasis on insurance and things like that. So that's just something to bear in mind. You know, I can't give you all the answers. I can give you options, and there's a bunch of them out there, and we'll cover a few of them. So stablecoins, obviously stablecoins. When we talk about market resistance and BTC resistance in particular, stablecoins are where we end up. So there are a bunch of stable coins out there. There's BUSD, there's USDC, there's DAI, there's Frax, there's MIM. There's a bunch of them. DAI is a decentralized stablecoin. USDC is not. You may not care. But at the moment, you can get 12.73% on DAI. Well, at least you could when I made the presentation. Problem with this, those rates are variable and they are what they are right now. But are they going to be like that in a week? You don't know. So there's definitely ways of doing a stablecoin arbitrage. You can jump between different lending protocols, but the thing with DeFi is that it's expensive to move things around. It does look like we're going to have a lot more options thanks to Arbitrum, thanks to Optimism, thanks to Polygon. So we'll be able to move our money around. And I'm assuming that there's going to be a bunch of interesting yield strategies and vaults that we can take advantage of. It's not really the job to get into those now. What's more important is a stablecoin. Moving into a stablecoin used to be a very, very, very defensive move. I tethered. Like tethering was like this just like really defensive move. Nowadays, it doesn't have to be. Back in 2017, DeFi wasn't a thing. Like MakerDAO was basically just kind of being put together, but it wasn't there yet. And it was only during that bear market that DeFi became a thing. So basically people tethered and they just escaped the market. They just ran away. I do have a kind of weirdly optimistic feeling that because of DeFi and because of the possibilities around stablecoins, they may not. And if they don't, that means that there is a different game to play around stablecoins. And stablecoins are stable. I mean, they're not necessarily secure, all of them, as we know, but they are stable. And that means that, you can wake up tomorrow with slightly more than you woke up with this morning. Guaranteed. That's nice. So what else can we do? Future yield now. So the likes of Pendle and Alchemix, there are others, of course. They will allow you to take your yield now. And that basically means you lock up some funds and then they say, well, over the course of X amount of time, the yield you will accrue is X. You can have that now because we know it. We can guarantee it. And then they can do all sorts of financial engineering to ensure that they aren't at risk. Alchemix is doing some really interesting things. The new version of Alchemix is going to be, I think, a lot more kind of spicy than where it is right now, because I did some maths on Alchemix just recently, and I was thinking about, potentially a decentralized film studio where we would raise $2 million, and then we would put $1 million of that through Alchemix and take out a loan, a self-paying loan. And I'd been working off this timeline that it was 2 years for that loan to pay itself off. I went back and looked at it, and in fact, it was going to be 8 years for that loan to pay itself off, which doesn't work for me because the timeline for making a film is around 2 years normally. So that would have worked out beautifully. You take out the loan, it pays itself back. And then once you finish the film, you're ready to go and do it again. So it becomes this flywheel. Doesn't work that way. Pendle, I definitely recommend looking at because it gives you some flexibility over your funds, but it's not necessarily the answer to everything. But if you want liquidity and you want to keep playing or you want to take advantage of an opportunity that comes up, one of the hardest things is when the market's dropping rapidly, you feel like you can't sell or you've got sunk cost fallacy dropping in there. Being able to kind of manage your liquidity and take out loans in different ways, it's interesting. We have derivatives. So I've only put 2 here. I know there's tons more. We have looked at Tracer on the channel and with their perpetual pools. That's an interesting one. If you want to short the market using a perpetual pool, could be interesting. Bumper is one that I'm not allowed to cover because I have become an investor in Bumper. So that's it. But Bumper is a downside protection protocol, and that is all I will say. Then there's tranches on Barnbridge. So tranches, there are junior tranches and senior tranches. The junior tranches take on more of the risk. So I don't know if you can see here, but you can basically see the junior tranches on this GUSD product will see 30.84% APY, and the senior tranches will earn 2.41%, and the 2.41% is fixed and protected. And if anything bad happens, the juniors pay the seniors, and the juniors might get nothing, but the seniors will always get paid. So there's a downside protection there and a fixed rate of interest, which is, it's something you can model. It's something you can predict. It's something you can work off if you're looking to kind of do some longer term strategies. Then it brings us to Terra. we've covered Terra a lot on this channel. It's almost boring how much we've covered it. But I've yet to see another product and another ecosystem that does what they do, which is weird because I was expecting to see copycats, but it hasn't happened yet. And I suspect it's simply because doing something like UST is incredibly difficult. I'm hopeful that we'll start to see something on, for instance, Akala and Karura on the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystems. I feel like they have what it needs to build that out. There's certainly a lot of liquidity locked up on those platforms at the moment. And I really hope we do get to see that because I would like there to be a choice. So I think it would be nice to see that. So we've talked about Anchor previously. 20% fixed rate on UST deposits. It's not 20% right now. It's 19.64. It will go down. It's inevitable that rate will go down. They call it the benchmark rate for fixed interest, and I think they will continue to do that. But it's inevitable. It will diminish over time because it has to. You can't keep that rate up. But what is interesting is that there is a product called Nexus, the Nexus protocol launching on Terra. And what Terra is doing is it's basically supercharging strategies using Anchor, but also using some of the other things that are built on Terra to get a better rate. So there's a couple of vaults that stand out here. So there's the B Luna B ETH Anchor Vault. And we have looked at borrowing and saving on Anchor in the past. And the borrow side of the market is one that's usually pays pretty well when the market's turning down, but you have to spend a lot of time managing it. With this vault, you won't have to, which is wild. So you'll be able to take advantage of the borrow side of the market and all the advantages from that. Because what happens when the market turns red is that everyone goes, run to safety. So they go, I'll take that 20% on Anchor and I'll feel good about myself, which means that the borrow side of the market is massively underused and then heavily incentivized to be used, which means it's much more profitable if you're willing to take on the risk. But it is risky and you need to manage it. So this vault will allow you to do that while automatically protecting user from liquidation risk. Remains to be seen. Obviously, it has to be battle tested, but that is interesting. The UST Mirror Vault, well, this is another one where they claim that they'll be able to get you around 25 to 40%. I know it's a big kind of margin on Anchor deposits by using a delta neutral yield strategy. And that's basically where you have you have positions which are going both long and short. That's quite complicated to manage. That's high level, big brain stuff. All of that goes away with the UST Mirror Vault, allowing you to gain access to a better rate on Anchor. I mean, 20% is already sick, but you get a better rate? Are you kidding me? But there's a big problem with all of this. Like, some people don't want to move to Terra. They don't like UST. They don't like the idea of moving off Ethereum because I can't be fucked today. I mean, like, other layer ones? So there's an answer for you, ETH Nexus. Here, ETH users will be able to deposit ETH, and then a whole bunch of fancy stuff will happen on the other end. It'll be turned into BETH, and then you'll generate around a 10% interest on your ETH. How do they do that? Well, there's the diagram. You figure it out. It's not necessary to worry about how all that works. But what is important is that the value that's locked up in that transaction ends up being on the Terra network, adding value to the Terra network. Boom, bada bam, bam, boom. Nice stuff. We have insurance, Nexus Mutual, Insurace. You know, if you're going to be locking stuff into a protocol for a long period of time, like you might do on Anchor, then you're going to want to have insurance. Terra is going to be launching their own insurance protocol, Ozone, very soon. I imagine it will be cheaper and probably more engineered for that ecosystem, and therefore should be better. So what else can you do? Well, you can participate. The DAO ecosystem is massively growing. I took some stats out here. DAO participation is up. This is a bull market, though. People will drop off, and it does mean that there'll be a better signal to noise ratio, but, you know, take that with a pinch of salt. Treasury management. This used to be a real bugbear. When we talked about projects having to sell their own tokens, I've been heavily involved in protocols that are trying to solve this problem. Tokamak is one of them. Olympus Pro is another one. And I've seen projects like Pendle and Alchemix jump into Olympus Pro, and more projects looking at Olympus and their bonds model to reconfigure the way that they own their own liquidity. Because, you know, what happens in a bear market, everyone retreats. And if your entire system is built on liquidity and the provision of liquidity, if it isn't there, then you're kind of screwed. So having more control over your liquidity, where it goes and how it is pulled out is important. Another interesting one I picked up on was Bulls on the Block LLC has been formed in Delaware. Bulls on the Block is a 10,000 item PFP project. They've incorporated in Delaware, which was interesting. So they're going legit, but they're going legit in the place that is particularly favorable to crypto. Wyoming is becoming more and more favorable to crypto. So I would imagine there's going to be some more of that going on. But what about NFTs? Well, I wrote a big long tweet thread about this. I'm not going to spend too long on it, but NFTs are illiquid JPEGs. We know this, but I'm starting to see some kind of signs of life of what the bear market might look like. Participation, shared ownership. I would be very wary of tokens that are coming through NFTs, principally because I saw the masternode thing happen in the last bull cycle. Lock up your tokens, you get a masternode, you get more tokens through staking, all that kind of stuff. What ends up happening is you get a lot of emission and you get a lot of tokens, but those tokens are worth nothing for about 4 years until the point at which they are. So if your time horizon is 4 years, fine. But if you're looking for something where the time horizon isn't 4 years, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm happy to be proved wrong there. But what I was interested by was the likes of UTA signing CryptoPunks, Ava Labs signing with Guy Osiri. There is Guy Osiri. He manages Madonna and U2 amongst others. The guy actually has an ape. So he's one of us, weirdly. That is kind of fun. So I suspect with like the blue chip NFTs, there's going to be reasons for those communities not to sell during a bear market. Like one of the theses I had was that I might look to try and pick up apes and punks and other things down the bottom of the market because I'm inherently a contrarian now. There are three massive investors here: John Templeton, Warren Buffett, Peter Thiel, all saying the same thing. You know, be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. That is a contrarian mindset, and it works beautifully in crypto. You know, you can pick up bargains if you're brave enough to do that thing of buying Bitcoin at 3,000 when it's dropped from 20,000. But it kind of requires you to step away from the herd a little bit. The other thing you can do during a bear market is learn new things. So DeFi Saver is a highly recommended simulator for DeFi that I would recommend anyone try out because it gives you an opportunity to work with 400 ETH, I think it is, and try using money Legos and try different things. You can do it without spending any money at all and learn strategies for these things. We here are working on Unreal Engine. There's Jenkins the Valley as well. Jenkins the Valley is doing a writing project for the Bored Apes, but there's all sorts of different ways of learning new things. And with that in mind, it's time for us to bring back Valerie. Valerie, how are you?
I'm good, Robin. That was a good presentation. Thank you.
So it's time to present who Valerie actually is, because Valerie is in fact Alp. If you show what's going on here, this is in fact Alp.
That's me. Look at that. Look at us.
That's Alp with a smartphone. And Alp is piloting this metahuman via his phone live to you now.
You see there's a face scan there. And as I'm moving my lips, my eyes, my face, it's detecting that. And according to those movements, it's moving the 3D model that we have here on Unreal Engine.
So behind Alp, there is a computer with the software running on it. Should we go and show what that computer looks like and the environment you've set up?
Let's do it.
Okay. So tell us what's going on, Al.
So at the moment, we're on cinematic view. I've set up a camera to directly look at our 3D model here. It's a metahuman. It's one of the most accurate pictures of humans that you can get 3D as a 3D model. And once I exit this, we're going to enter a world that I've built. So we can zoom out of here. There's a teddy bear here, some cactus, a giant chair. But this is just very amateur. I'm just getting used to learning how to build worlds and characters on Unreal Engine, basically. We're trying to go into virtual production very soon. But I don't think we're going to focus on metahumans. We're going to use NFT 3D models from the likes of the artifact Akira drop. We're going to try to bring into virtual worlds. Or the Fluffs have 3D models. Bored Apes are soon going to be releasing 3D models, as I believe. We're going to try to bring those into 3D worlds, virtual worlds. And we're going to make videos from virtual spaces like that, basically. And this is just a demonstration that I came up with this morning in a couple of hours, essentially. So that is it. It's very, very exciting stuff. And it's really easy to do, actually. You just need a good computer to handle all these graphics. And besides that, it's you just watch a few YouTube videos, and you can do it yourself as well.
Cool. I'm going to give you the camera back.
Yeah.
Jump back to my desk. So basically, this is a glimpse of the future of the Defiant, and it's been a bit of a journey for us because I spent so much of my career working with cameras and working with physical objects, and what we realized was that the metaverse, the future of production, pretty much everything that we're going to experience in this kind of secondary layer of entertainment and everything else it's going to be built on Unreal Engine. Once you see these PFPs and you see that you can bring them to life and you can tell stories from within the metaverse about the metaverse, not as an outsider looking in, but as an insider looking out, this is where we are going. And it will allow us to tell richer stories and deeper stories and bring other people in and have this very creative energy around what we do. And we love the office here and we love everything we're able to do. But this is where we're going. And this is the next level part of it. And it's very, 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 very exciting because Unreal, oh my God, and it's free. So that was hopefully a non-fuddy look at what a bear market could be. At no point am I saying that this is all over. Bitcoin very likely is going to go to $150,000, $200,000. When it does that, you'll start to see a chart go pretty much vertical. Now, I don't need to prove that. You can go and look back at 2017 and study what happened when it went to 20K. That's called a blow off top. It happens. It won't feel like that at the time. It will feel like everybody's energy is pointed at you and at this space and that everybody wants to be part of the party. But what you can do is just think a little bit now about what you will do when that happens. You've got time, and that's the point. You won't have time when it's happening. You'll be too busy doing other stuff. But now you've got time. And now when it's less busy and you can plan ahead, you should plan ahead, because what point is any of this if on the other side of it, you don't have something to show for it? That's really the best thing that I can say is just, make sure that you come out of this recognizing when you won and recognizing that, this was a great platform for whatever happens next. 3 years of bear, it does hurt. Trust me, I know. So we are now going to jump onto Twitter Spaces and have a little chat with some people that I've lined up. We're a bit late. I'm going to jump on there now. If you want to continue the conversation, that's where we'll be. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you're watching this on record, drop us a like, subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we'll get there, but we won't get there without your help. So thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for all the comments. We will see you on the next one. Alp, hit it.